She tells him, ooh, love, no one's ever gonna hurt you, love. I'm gonna give you all of my love. Nobody matters like you.
Alright guys, so this is going to be another theory-based episode, but instead of us reading it, we are going to react to it as it is portrayed in film theory. And this one is Death Note, How Deadly Was It? So it's basically going to be like a reaction type theory, basically a reaction to this theory, and we're going to basically, watch it and talk about it as it goes on. So let's go ahead and start it up.
I've set things up so theories will continue to appear over the next 3 weeks. Just watch me, theorists. I'll make dinner with my right hand and write theories with my left. I'll take a potato chip and eat it. I'll take my leftovers and reheat it. I'll play Mario and beat it. I'll open the script for Doctor Who Part 3 and complete it. Well, maybe not that last one.
Well, that's actually a pretty funny intro.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory! So, here's a fun fact. When I'm at conventions, one of the most popular things I'm asked to sign are people's recently purchased Death Notes. It makes me wonder whether they're fans of the show or just haters who want to end the channel by any means necessary. Either way, I'm totally in the clear since I don't take chances and sign with a misspelling of my name. It's totally true. The parrot.
I do have to say, I never thought about getting a Death Note as like an autograph book. It's like if I ever met like famous YouTubers and stuff, having like basically like, a Death Note as like my autograph book, that would actually be pretty funny. And it'd be kind of one of those like little wink wink nudge nudge to my channels. The one you're currently watching on. But actually, that's a pretty smart idea. I want to actually consider that.
Paranoia is real. Seriously, if you have ever asked me to sign your Death Note, check it out. Usually what I do is I attach a little bit of extra text to the end where I'm like, haha, this isn't how I actually spell my name. Also, side note, apologies to any MatPats out there who spell their name with a double T. Anyway, today we're talking...
Don't worry, because if you are a MatPat and you're... Jesus Christ, I have YouTube Premium, and these ads are stupid as hell.
Talking about Death Note since Netflix...
But anyways, you actually have to have a person's face, so people with the same name aren't affected. Why? Why?
Netflix just released a live-action Death Note movie, and since I'm writing this episode before...
By the way, I already saw the live-action Death Note. For all of you that haven't seen it, I'm going to call you the lucky ones because it was garbage. Like, a rating out of 10, I'd probably say negative 1,000. And that's being on the generous side, too. Anybody that has seen it, we can go ahead and confirm that, yes, I was being very generous with that rating.
Before it comes out, let me just cover my bases here. Man, it was the worst. I mean, L in public, Light second-guessing himself. I can't believe that they didn't stay true to the original anime. Or, wow, it was so great, right? Ryuk was perfect, and they nailed Misa's character. Sorry, I hate to make you guys work like that, but I thank you for going the extra mile and inserting the appropriate of the two responses. So let me just put this out there. I love the original anime. It's like 25 of the best written episodes ever put to a TV screen. But MatPat, there are actually 37 episodes. Like I said, 25 of the most tense, densely plotted episodes ever put to air. For those of you unfamiliar, main character Light Yagami has it all. The top grades in his class, the attention of all his female classmates, and a magical notebook that has the ability to kill people when he writes their names in it. Okay, so one of those things is not quite like the others. Unlike most people who get kinda icky over the prospect of killing people with the flick of a pen, Light sees this as his opportunity to purify the world of evil, taking out all the world's criminals and in the process becoming the vigilante known as Kira. And no, that's not a racist way of saying killer, his name is actually Kira. Along the way...
Well, actually, it kind of is a racist way of saying killer, because he does point out that it does come from the English word known as killer, which... I mean, it's like... I mean, he does say that he doesn't like the idea of it, but him actually having a name for who he is and them recognizing that, you know, this is because of somebody who wants to get rid of evil, you know, he sticks by the name.
Way he attracts copycat killers and plays an intense game of cat and mouse against the brilliant deductive mind of a mysterious detective known only as L.
L is probably the
without
greatest detective
question
in
my
all
favorite anime.
fiction.
But as I get ready to watch the Netflix movie, it suddenly occurred to me, we spend so much time zoomed in on the personal conflicts between Light and L that we, as the audience, lose sight of the larger conflict here. Just how many killings are happening. Over the course of the series, Light has some epic montage sequences. Well, about as epic as you can get when the action consists of writing people's names down. The entire point of these montages is to illustrate the extent of these killing sprees, but when it comes to the question of how many names were actually written into the Death Note, things kinda get blurry. So today, I'm working to get the best estimate possible for how many lives Light cut short during his reign as Kira. Now, I say estimate since most of his killing occurs off-screen, meaning we can never get a 100% accurate number. That said, though, we can get close if we know 1, the duration of time during which Kira is active, and 2, the rate at which Kira kills. So number 1, how long does Kira kill for? Well, it's a simple question that has a complicated answer. You see, for one thing, there are a total of 4 people who operate under the Kira alias at one point or another, as Light creates these complex notebook handoffs in his attempt to evade capture. Making matters worse is that sometimes multiple Kiras are active at the same time, with as many as 3 Death Notes at play.
Was there 3 Death Notes? I thought there were only 2. So there was the one that Ryuk dropped, which was picked up by L. Then there was the one that Misa had, which was given to her by Rem. Oh, Rem, yeah. So I forgot when Rem killed Watari and L, she died because she did that to extend the life of Misa. So she died. And alright, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So she died, and Light picked up the book. So yeah, there are 3 Death Notes at play. So never mind.
Fortunately, we have access to the complete time-stamped list of all the major events that happened throughout the series, thanks to the handy timeline that was printed in the bonus 13th volume of the manga. And it bears mentioning that yes, this is a timeline covering the manga, however, it tells the exact same story as the anime, only time shifted 3 years earlier because it came out first. They kept the months and days consistent from manga to anime, only changing the year by 3 years, so really the absolute time that Kira is active remains the same. So now, spoiler alert, I'm about to show you a timeline mapping out the whole series, so go binge watch it and then come back here. Seriously, it'll be a great weekend activity.
Yeah, if you're also watching on my end, do it as well. If you have not seen Death Note, go ahead and stop this recording. Trust me, this recording will still be here, okay? It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But go ahead and completely binge watch Death Note. You will love it. It is like 10 out of 10, would watch again. And then you also won't be spoiled by anything that comes up. So I'm going to just go ahead and play this now.
For ya. Everyone back? Great, and here it is. Yep, it is a lot. 6 years of killing spread across 4 main Kiras using 3 separate notebooks and a partridge in a pear tree. Add to that the police, the mafia, and whoo boy, it is more confusing than Light playing musical notebooks in the woods. But at this point, we have a solid idea of how long each of the Kiras was in operation. As expected, Light was the longest at 2,033 total days. The second Kira, model and actress Misa Amane, is only active for 67 days, primarily because she was less interested in killing for justice and more interested in getting into Light's Light's life. Kyosuke Higuchi is Kira 3.0, active for 136 days, and finally Teru Mikami, a devoted disciple of Kira, holds the note for the shortest amount of time, only 61 days, but he's also the most enthusiastic about it.
Delete! 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 Delete!
Oh, backspace on up there, buddy, because now that we know who had a death note and for how long, we can calculate how many people each of them killed based on their rates of killing. Man, if this video doesn't get flagged by YouTube as being advertiser unfriendly, it will be a miracle.
Hey, don't worry, mine can get flagged for copyright, so...
lies in his first encounter with Ryuk, Light's Shinigami, or God of Death. When Ryuk first appears, we learn that Light's been writing the names of criminals in the Death Note for 5 days.
Several death notes have made their way into the human world in the past, but you're the first to have written this many names. Look at how many people you've killed in only 5 days.
And look we do. The show gives us a glimpse of his open
That's actually
notebook where we can
quite a
observe that he
bit.
writes names divided into 4 columns and 39 rows each.
Because remember, not many people hold the Death Note for as long as Light has. Not even 5 days. Which is weird because all 4 of these held up. But before they go insane. I mean, they really would just eventually either stop using it or just go crazy and just either kill themselves or just get rid of the book so they don't have to deal with it anymore.
That's a total of 156 names per page. That clip also shows us that Light's already completed 2 full pages, a total of 312 names. If we take the lowball estimate and assume that Light only has filled those 2 pages in the 5 days, then the average comes out to 62.4 names per day. Now realize that this is only an average. Light obviously isn't writing exactly 62 names every single day. For instance, there's one day where he kills exactly 24 criminals, 1 every hour, to make a very specific point to L. And then on the days where he's under surveillance, he probably kills fewer criminals. But we also know that Light likes to queue up criminals to die even on days when he's not diligently writing names in his death note. So what matters here is the average, not the exact he writes down on any given day. So that
that's pretty smart.
62.4 is a good baseline.
I didn't think about that.
Then comes the 5-year intermission after Light defeats L, during which Light is acting completely uncontested, assuming the role of Kira at night and the role of the new L during the day. And as you can imagine, since he's a serial killer leading a task force out to catch him, he's not too good at his day job. During this period, a narrator tells us that the Kira killings accelerate.
In the summer of 2012, Kira's killings increased at an unprecedented rate.
Light's first 5 days as Kira are a pretty good representation of what an unimpeded Kira looks like. He comes home from school, does his homework, and then spends the rest of his free time writing names in his notebook, like a lovesick middle schooler. When Light defeats L, he still has to perform his day job with the police task force. And at night, Misa is also distracting him. Wink, wink. Don't you hate it when the blonde actress/model who adores everything that you do pulls you away from your nightly killing spree? So let's assume that the rate of his killings during this period doubles per day. It's nothing too extreme, just an extra 60 or so names at night because he has Misa helping him do research. Running those numbers...
Which, yeah, having like 2 people look up, criminals and stuff like that, and then killing them off like an extra 60-something people a day. So about 128 people, 128.4 people a day, would make sense because he won't have to worry about L because he's now the new L. He won't have to worry about the Japanese police because, well, he's working with the Japanese police to catch Kira, which he is in fact Kira and is in fact L. So he's not real, like he said, not too good at his day job.
Across his 2,033 days as Kira
let's
gives
just see
us
the math.
242,112 names in the book. Hold up.
Holy shit.
242,000? Approximately 62 names per day times 365 days, doubling for when L is defeated and run that for 5 years. Yeah, that number checks out. And that's a conservative estimate. Think about that. 200,000 names. That's more than the populations of 47 separate countries. In fact, near the end of the series, Nier, his name is actually Nier, calls the...
Actually, if you take a look at the Death Note when Nier shows the book, his name is actually Nate River. So, his name is actually Nate. Not Nier. Because I don't think you can write a nickname and kill somebody. I think you have to actually write their actual name.
The Death Note.
The deadliest weapon of mass murder in the history of mankind.
That's a pretty tall order, but when you actually look at the numbers, it's true. The 3rd Death Note alone, the one Light Yagami used during his 5 years uncontested, killed more people than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima at the end of World War II, which was itself the single deadliest attack in recorded history.
In the end, you're nothing more than a crazy...
After that bombing, literally the Geneva Convention banned nuclear weapons at all in war. It's literally a war crime to use a nuclear missile.
Serial killer.
Oh no, Light is much more dangerous. The term serial killer specifically excludes war crimes and government-sanctioned killings.
But would these be classified as war crimes? Because, I mean, I don't see how a civilian could commit a war crime. And considering that, he's not really at war with all the countries, I wouldn't really see this as a war crime. And I don't see this as a government-sanctioned killing because, well, he's not the government and he's not legally putting people to death. He's basically a serial killer.
And by that definition, Kira comes out on top by a huge margin. Some of the deadliest serial killers in recorded history, Luis Garavito and Pedro Lopez, have fewer than 200 known victims, while Kira's number in the hundreds of thousands. Even the deadliest conventional serial killers are around only 1/10 of 1% as deadly as Kira. And that is just Light. We still have 3 other Kiras, to discuss. Misa's number is just a drop in the bucket compared to Light's killing spree, only around 400. She had a short run and only killed for attention. Any killings that she does do during that 5-year intermission period are more for helping out Light's total, because he's the type of person who wouldn't allow that power to anyone else. He probably wants to savor all that writing to himself, and as we see during the montage for that segment, they're both on computers together researching, but he's the only one that we ever see writing names. When the audience learns that Higuchi is the 3rd Kira, we see his notebook laid out on the table, and it shows that he's written a total of 64 names, 16 rows across, 4 columns. If that's what's in a day's work for Higuchi, then that would make his daily body count almost exactly the same as what we calculated for Light earlier. An average of 64 names per day times 136 days works out to 8,704 people dead at Higuchi's hands. And lastly, Teru MykaMe. Out of all the Kiras, MykaMe holds his death note for the fewest number of days, but he fills in 1 page per day. That might not sound like much, but 1 page for MykaMe is serious business. With over 6 columns and 76 rows per
Holy
page,
shit.
MykaMe is executing a whopping 456 people every single.
So, okay, think about this. Every day he's executing more people than Misa did over the entire series. And he had, 61 days with a death note? Jesus Christ, he's killed 61 times the amount Misa did. That's pretty impressive and scary.
I'm not sure what's more impressive, the number of names that MykaMe manages to write every day, or that he manages to squeeze them all in there. MykaMe might not be the brightest when it comes to executing Light's strategy, but you've got to give this guy points for penmanship. With a total of 61 active days, MykaMe's total kill count tallies in at 27,816. 27,000 people in 2 months! So to recap, our tallies are Light Yacht.
I don't think I could do that. I'd run out of names fast, even if I was just killing killers and, criminals themselves. If I looked up a whole bunch of criminals, I'd run out of names fast.
242,112, Misa Amane 392, Kyosuke Higuchi 8,704, and Teru MykaMe 27,816, adding up to just under 280,000 total victims. 280,000 people dead. To give you a point of comparison, that is just shy of the 300,000 Americans who died during World War I. The only wars to kill more US soldiers were World War I, II, and the Civil War. And remember, this estimate is a conservative number. We don't see proof of it, but Misa could absolutely be more active during that 5-year intermission if Light allowed her to be, and Light himself could definitely be more aggressive in his writing if he wanted to be. For an even better comparison of the vastness of the number of people these guys are killing, consider this. When we see Light's notebook open, yes, we see some Western names, but there's also a few names written in Japanese. This makes total sense since the series is set in Japan, and Light's first language is Japanese, so it would just be an easier place for him to target. In 2009, Japan's prison population was 75,250.
So, basically it wouldn't take him that long to take care of the entire Japanese prison. But I think they also said that, like, they put it in a scenario where there are a lot more criminals in Japan, so they could have this whole thing.
Just a fourth of Kira's total kill count. In other words, during his 6 years, he could have exterminated Japan's entire prison population and still had time to deal with the rest of the world's criminals. That said, the US has a few more people in prison, 2,217,000 to be exact. So even if Kira's efforts were entirely concentrated on the US, it would have only been around 13% of the total US prison population. Furthermore, worldwide, there are 874,100 people murdered last year. Well, holy jeez, that's a huge number. So even if Kira only targeted murders, his total...
Listen, this is a PSA out to all of you people. Stop the murder. Please. Their life matters too. Okay? Let's just stop killing. We don't need that number to get any higher. Okay?
Total number of killings over 6 years would only be 32% of the total number of murders in 1 year. Oh boy. The world is kind of a scary place sometimes. And I gotta be honest, Light, for all his purging the world talk, made it a bit scarier. You see, even though he sees himself as the embodiment of justice,
I am justice.
he kills innocents along the way in order to stay out of prison. Ray Pember, Ray's fiancée, 11 FBI agents that were sent to investigate him, L. Watari. Then, of course, the killings that were done by the other Kiras. Light justifies these deaths as necessary in his quest to bring peace to the world, and in truth, those people make up only 0.1% of Kira's total death toll, but is he right in this assessment? When we say that Kira killed 279,024 criminals, that's under the assumption that all of those people were guilty. But what Light doesn't take into account are false convictions, which happen more frequently than you might think. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, the number of prisoners being released as their crimes are disproven has been increasing since 2011, a rate of 3 exonerations per week. Other criminal justice studies have shown that in the US specifically, as many as 4.1% of death row inmates in the US might be innocent. And that's only in the US, and only for people who've been convicted. We know that in some cases, Kira simply targets suspects. If 4% of the people Kira sentenced to death would have later been exonerated, that means Kira has killed over 11,000 innocent victims. Not quite the drop in the bucket that Light seems to think it is. There's also plenty of other issues that exist in the criminal justice system. For example, in the US, 94% of all cases are decided by plea bargains, where people confess guilt to a lesser crime to avoid the risk of being convicted of something more serious, even if they're not guilty at all. They just don't want to run the risk or waste the time in trial. Some estimates put the number of innocents who are currently serving prison time due to plea bargains at around 20,000. And Japan has a big problem with wrongful convictions. Suspects arrested for questioning can be held up to 23 days, during which the suspect isn't allowed to have contact with an attorney. There's even one case where a prosecutor threatened to kill a suspect during his interrogation. Japan's conviction rate...
I am now glad I don't live in Japan, just due to the fact that I would instantly crack and just go ahead and confess. Whether I was guilty or not. Jesus Christ. Threaten to kill me? It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know stealing that soup was that big of a deal. Just one can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup. Come on, man.
Rate is,
calm your shit.
99.8%. Let me make this easy for you. If you're in court in a Japanese courtroom, you are going to prison. Just stop wasting your time. Get started on your prison sentence and get it over with faster. It's a system where guilty until proven innocent really prevails. And in Kira's eyes, they're all guilty, regardless of the evidence. By the end of the series, people and governments just send him names. With Light killing hundreds of thousands of people, you think he's got time to check each and every one? So what's the upshot here? Is Kira truly justice? Well, let me give you the numbers and you can go debate it in the comments. Near the end of the anime, we find out that by the end of Kira's 6-year reign, the world's violent crime rate has fallen by 70%.
Since Kira's appearance 6 years ago, wars have stopped, and global crime rates have been reduced by over 70%.
A 70% decrease in the number of worldwide murders would decrease the number of killings in a given year by 611,870. So by killing an average of 46,500 people per year, around 2,000 of those being innocent, Kira prevented over 600,000 murders every single year. And that's not even mentioning all the other violent crime that went down. This is the dilemma of Death Note. Light is clearly a villain, saying he's driven by a better world when in actuality his ego and lust for power are his true driving motivations. And yet, you can't deny he got results. So was he right all along? The show provides no clear answers, and remember, it's all just fiction, but it raises a great debate. A debate that hopefully I was able to help you out with by providing more accurate numbers so you can assess the situation. And although I can't answer any of those questions definitively for you, I can at least present you with one final and slightly lighter question related to Death Note. Could Kira kill Goku? Spoiler alert, the answer is obviously yes, but go ahead, debate it in the comments, cause remember, it's all just a
Okay, so I mean, other than the could Kira kill Goku? Well, I mean, that would actually be a really good question, because what name would he have to write? Would he have to write Goku, Son Goku, Kakarot, or Kakaroto? As those are literally all four of his names. I find it funny that the name Kakarot, literally the Japanese version is just Kakarato. But whatever. And so, which name would you have to write? I mean, I think if it's a Japanese version, he'd have to either write, like, would he have to write down, like, okay. So we have to write down Kakarot or Goku. These are the real questions that nobody's asking. Well, no one cares. But anyways, I want to answer the question that he asked. So, was he right? That one's a really tough question. He did decrease the amount of criminal activity by a large margin, and a lot of murders did come to an end. But the thing is, he also caused panic. And the thing is, he's not immortal. So the one thing that happened after his death is a struggle for power. One of the most famous criminals of all time, and literally the biggest drug lord, was Pablo Escobar. Now, after the death of Pablo Escobar, where he was gunned down, there was a struggle for power. There was literally criminals out there, and people who weren't necessarily criminals, but people going out there and killing just to gain his spot. Literally, Pablo Escobar kept peace inside the country. And even though he was breaking the law, once he died, it created this vacuum where people wanted to fill that spot. So, I would say that even though he was kind of maintaining the peace, especially against criminals and stuff like that, I would say that because of his actions and how he started this whole situation, that unless he gained immortality, he literally was the biggest problem. And that's just due to the fact that after he would die, all the crime would come back. And it wouldn't come back just slowly. It would come back all at once. Because people are trying to fill that spot. But anyways, go ahead and hit that like button. I will be leaving a link to the original video in the description. And comment question of the day. Who is your favorite Kira throughout the entire series of Death Note? Was it Light Yagami, Misamane, Higuchi, or MykaMe? Go ahead and give your answers down below. Actually, let's go ahead and throw in... No, because the Shinigami didn't really do much. So, yeah, so there's those four. Out of those four, who is your favorite Kira? And if you like this, go ahead and hit that like button. It lets me know that you guys enjoy the content I'm making. And if you're all new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be posting more and more content like this on a regular basis. And if you don't want to miss out, don't forget to turn on notifications. And we'll have YouTube notify you anytime I upload another video. But anyways, guys, I will see you all in the next video.